Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 'Cause I Said So, your favorite mother-daughter podcast.
Hello, Alex.
Hi. Today's episode is so exciting and fun.
Yes.
It's summer. We're in the thick of summer, and I'm well on my way of training for Rough and Rowdy, and we're going to do... Why are you looking at me like that? Like you don't know?
Oh, I guess you did announce that last week.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so, Mom, we're going to do your boomer move, and then we're going to have what I think is one of the most interesting episodes yet. We're going to interview Large from The Office, he was a day trader. He was on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. For how many years?
23, I think.
23 years on Wall Street, and now he's at Barstool. He does boxing. He does finance. He's so incredibly well-spoken. His story is incredible.
Yes.
He talks about his wife, 9/11. It's a phenomenal episode.
It is.
There's so much more to Large than I ever knew. And I knew there was a lot to him.
I know. You can just tell by talking to him that he's very deep.
He's seen a lot.
Depth. He has a lot of depth.
After the interview, I went up to Ebony, who works at the front desk, and I said, the people that work in this building with us, like, we're really blessed.
We are. You're right.
You know, when we interviewed him, I was like, Mom, we get to come to work every day with these really interesting people.
Yeah, it's true.
What is your boomer move, darling?
My boomer move is... I have to think about it just a second, so we may have to cut this part. But we talked about it. I said, what's my boomer move, remember?
No, I think your boomer move is you had a plug-in in the middle of your plug-in today.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
Like you plugged...
So when you have a Mac, you only have a certain plug-in. And so I used one of those add-on plug-ins that you can plug into your computer, and then you can put in a USB port. It's a port drive or whatever. And I had the plug-in that goes into my Apple plugged into that, and then that plug. So
you basically put an
idiot.
Extension cord in the middle of two plugs that could plug in together.
Yeah, that was kind of a boomer move.
And it was cute. You were kind of walking around the office with it, thinking you were pretty cool.
Thinking I was so smart.
And we were like, what happened? That's your boomer move. Do you have another one?
Well, I did, but now I can't remember. So because I didn't think. So you have to give me a second. I don't know what it was.
Well, it's all right.
Maybe that's it. I can't remember what the hell it was.
We could just sit here, Mom. Are you having a good summer?
Is it summer? It's chilly and rainy right now. It feels like spring, and I feel like time has flown by.
I know your boomer move.
What?
You freaked out the other day and didn't know what year it was.
There was a reason for that.
So Kim went to the calendar store.
I was in one of those, stationery stores.
And somebody said,
these two ladies were beside me, and I was trying to find just a pad, a diary pad or whatever, notebook. And they were like, oh, my gosh, they already have the 2022 calendars out. And the lady beside her said, oh, my God, I am not ready for that. And I was like, oh, shit, what year is it? I seriously couldn't remember. I was like, I think it's 2022, but it must be 2021.
You must have thought it was 2021.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, it's 2021. So then I go to the doctor that day and I write 2021 on all the papers. I'm like, this is weird. What year is it? So then I had to Google it. And I was like, it is 2021.
So even Google said it's 2021? No, it didn't.
I swear it didn't. I was like, okay.
No.
And then you guys were talking about something and I was like, oh, you said, what's the 2022? Welcome to 2022. Or I was like, what year is it?
It says, I said, what year is it? It says Thursday, June, whatever the date is, 2022.
Yeah, I think I must have Googled it wrong.
Yeah, you must have Googled. You probably Googled, is it 2021?
I probably did.
And Google was like, it was at one point, and it no longer is.
Is it 2021?
Is it 2021 right now?
Yeah, that was a boomer move. But so you know how you say a word over and over, and you go, is that a real word?
I've been saying chore.
Chore, and you're like,
chore. I was trying to figure out the correct form of a sentence, and I was saying chore. This is a chore. Is it a chore? And then by the end of it, I was like, how do you spell chore? Is chore even the right word? And why does chore mean
chore?
Like I'm thinking of putting up stuff, and I'm thinking chore.
Yeah, so that's what the 2021 comment did when they were sitting there talking about it, and you're like, what year is it?
You're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
But it's very valid.
I mean, sometimes I mean, in a rare instance, if I'm writing something, I'll go 19. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I do that too. Yeah, but I journal every day and I write the date and I do like the full date.
Oh, that's good.
Like I'll be like February 1st, 2022.
That's
so I
good.
always kind of know the date and I know the year.
And that's important to know in case you get knocked out in boxing and they go, what year is it?
And I'll say 2022. I've written it every day this year. I'm going to know. August 19th. August 19th, I'm going to have to register these as weapons. Register these as weapons. Register these arms as weapons.
I hope whoever you box is so sweet and feminine.
And dainty.
Yes.
And doesn't want to hurt my nose. We go ahead and say no faces.
Yes.
Her and I have an understanding. I'd be down for that, but that wouldn't be as fun. Part
Be
of
fine
it.
with me.
If you're gonna do it, then you gotta do
I
it
don't know.
big.
I don't know if you have your organs hit either. Like in your stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no good option.
There is not.
All right. Speaking of boxing, without further ado, welcome to the show, Large. Quick pause for a Mamitas ad because nothing says summer like Mamitas, dude. They're cool, light, crispy. I think they give you no hangover, and they're made with real tequila. There's nothing better than that. They're 95 calories, gluten-free, and less than 1 gram of sugar, which means the next morning, you're not gonna regret it. They come in 6 different flavors: pineapple, lime, mango, paloma, plus 2 new flavors. I have the tequila sunrise right here, plus the spicy margarita. My current favorite and my one true love is always the paloma, but I have to say, I've been on a tequila sunrise kick lately. You can get them at Publix, so you can pick up a variety 8-pack at Publix, Jewel Osco, Walmart, Target, or order them on GoPuff, or as always, we will link the store locator. Enjoy, and happy summer. We're in the thick of it. All right.
We introed already?
Yeah.
We're intro. We're in.
Yeah,
We're like,
and
what's
do
up,
that
Large?
So I'm mid show? Or?
Yeah.
I mean, you're the whole show, but we
Fantastic.
did already
Let's
intro
go.
you in. Okay, so you said, wait, give us a quick background on you.
All right, so my name is Large. My real name is Mike McCarthy. I graduated from college in 1993. So I'm 50 years old on the bean. And as soon as I got out of college, I postponed admission to law school to go down to the American Stock Exchange and work for a semester. I got down to the American Stock Exchange. My first week there, Dan Dorfman had touted the Home Shopping Network. Remember that? Home
yes.
Shopping Network?
Yeah.
Dan Dorfman was a guy who I think wound up going to prison. He would go up on Tuesday afternoon and say, hey, I got a stock for you guys today. Today's Home Shopping Network. It traded right across from where my specialist post was. I was, honestly, a week or two into it, I was still getting lunches. The whole floor rushes to Home Shopping Network, starts buying this thing. And back then, markets didn't trade in pennies. They traded in eighths of a dollar. So every time a stock would move, it would move over a dime. So they would rush in, and I know I'm going to say stuff you don't understand. What's the market? And the guy would be like, 25 and a half, 5/8. Take them. So they bought everything that was offered at 5/8. How's it now? 5/8, 3/4, 250, 3/4. Take them. Where's it now? Nothing at 7/8 at the figure. Take them. So they're trading it. What's at an 8? Nothing's at an 8. I'm buying them at a fucking 8 to make it. Like, so it's all this kind of stuff. And as the market's going up and up and up, because the stock is, the specialist is like, we're a half 5/8. He starts grabbing his left arm, and so he goes down. He has a heart attack. The gurneys come in, they wrap him up, and as he's leaving, being wheeled off the floor, and on the floor of the exchange, your stamp and your stationery is like your word. Like anything that's done on your stamp, there are people, you bought these from me, stamping it and tucking it into him as he's fucking being wheeled out. And I called my mom. I was like, I don't think I'm going to law school. So I said, I'm going to be a specialist on the floor of the American Stock Exchange. That's what I set out to do. And I worked for a guy, his name was Rick Harvey. He passed away in 9/11. My wife's maiden name is Antoinette Harvey. I was banging the boss's daughter. And then so I worked for him. I didn't start dating her until I had left to then go work for JP Morgan. And then I worked for a bunch of big banks. And then I eventually wound up here after being 25 years on Wall Street.
Okay.
That's the quick story.
That is a quick story.
Powerful story.
It is a powerful story. Really quick. Did you say you worked for your now wife's dad?
Yes.
And he passed away during 9/11?
Yeah, so my father-in-law, so I wrote a blog a couple of years ago, and I really opened up about it. It took me 17 years to write it. Never spoke about it.
Wow.
And then Annie came in and she did the Twisted History of 9/11 last year with me, which is the most listened to episode of that podcast. Great podcast. And then she also did like an hour and a half with Kevin last year on the 20th anniversary. Kevin brought her in and had her bring in like this like memory box of all this stuff. My wife was a stud. So she was a broker on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, the bigger of the two exchanges. So I was a specialist on the Amex. When I finally came over to the New York, I was never a broker, so I couldn't go beyond the blue line, which is where she would like do all her stuff. She totally outranked me. Once I went upstairs, I blew her out of the water. No big deal. But for that time, like, it was very impressive. And yes, so her dad had owned the company that I worked for. And then when he was wiped out 9/11, along with her uncle and 9 other guys that she had worked with, she didn't go to breakfast that morning. It was Winners of the World because she had a root canal the night before. So she didn't go to breakfast. Everyone who went to breakfast got wiped out. Very, very sad. So then she was left running the company. widows and orphans type stuff. Made sure everyone got paid and all that kind of stuff.
My
Yeah, she's a real
Lord.
superhero. You should be talking to her, not me. You know what? You should talk to her.
We
not
should
me.
talk to her.
Yeah,
we're gonna.
she's a fucking stud.
We will.
She's a fucking stud.
She will be
and a
next.
sexual dynamo. Yeah. Right?
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Happy marriage.
Yeah.
She told me you buy her shoes.
I do. I
pick
buy her
her out
whatever the hell
shoes.
she wants. Yeah.
She's wearing some Gucci shoes. She said, you get them.
You know what? She never takes the time to do it. Like, I always have good stuff on my feet. Right? I mean, and for
Yeah,
some
you
reason,
do
like,
always
she just,
have some good
she doesn't,
shoes.
right? There's nothing wrong with them. Never. No days off. No days off. But she doesn't take the time to do it a lot for herself. And I love doing it. Like, I love.
You
kinda-
actually go physically look at them and pick them out.
Yeah. You know what it is? My daughter is, so I have a 12-year-old daughter. And she's more into, like, going shopping with me. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's
like, even,
special.
Yeah, but Annie's never the person where would like go out with her and just be like, "Here's my credit card, go," because she's always been so self-sufficient. But now having a little girl who's not, that's fun for me too. But I like to shop for women's clothes. I can't wear women's clothes because they don't make them my size. But I do like that whole thing.
That's so special.
Isn't that cute that he
Yeah.
does that? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I like that. So you've got 3 kids.
I have 3. Yeah, I have a 17-year-old boy who's about to turn 18 next week, and he's going to start Alabama in the fall. He's going to University of Alabama.
Exciting.
I have a 14-year-old boy who's about to turn 15 next week. They're born 3 years, 3 days apart, and he's going to be a sophomore in high school. He's a rising sophomore, plays football. And then Bridget's my 6th grader who's going to be a 7th grader.
He likes to shop with Dad.
Loves it. Yeah, so 18, 15, 12.
That's
all
fun.
3 years apart. Yeah,
Fun
not too
ages.
bad. Yeah.
Okay, what? Go ahead.
So tell us what you do at Barstool really quick, because a lot of people might not know.
So I had a website called Take a Report back in 2006. From 2006 till the market turned over at the end of 2008, I had a blog. It was one of the first blogs. You can't find it because there was no cloud at the time.
Oh, wow.
That's how old I am. So everyone's like, can I see your old Take a Report blogs? I have hard copies in a binder next to the toilet in our master bath. That's the only place it exists. Imagine that?
No.
So I wrote thousands of blogs, hundreds of good blogs, thousands of little kind of commentary blogs. And one of my biggest fans, this is back in 2007, 2008, was KFC, Kevin. And so Kevin had introduced me to Dave, and Dave had asked to fly me out to Boston to talk to me. I said, I was, I did it as a hobby, did it on the side. I said, I couldn't possibly be flown out. I'm an officer at Citigroup, but I go up to Boston to kiss customers' asses 4 times a year. Next time I go, I'll carve out some time. So I met Dave in a Irish bar where like the girls were wearing Catholic school uniforms. Dave was heavier than, balding and stuff like that. And he had asked me if I had any interest in being something called Barstool New York. They were going to do a bunch of different cities. And I had to politely decline because I had a real job. And I didn't think I didn't know what this thing was, much less that it was going to be this. So Kevin wound up becoming Barstool New York. That wound up being Kevin's gig. You're welcome.
Wow.
So that was 2008. You fast forward 10 years later, and my career went like this. So I'm a managing director in like a regional bank, a Canadian bank, and they have a layoff, and they laid off a good chunk of North America. Am I talking too much? Or you guys
No.
know with this?
Very interesting.
They lay off a good chunk of North America. So as soon as I get laid off, I'm no longer blogging. I stopped blogging in 2008 because I got fired for it from Citigroup. Citigroup fired me for it. And the blog was so popular that I got hired within a week for the most money I ever made in a calendar year. So it was a happy ending.
But who
if
hired you then?
ICAP,
Okay.
biggest interbroker dealer in the world.
Okay.
But if you Google Michael McCarthy Citigroup, you'll see, like I was the keynote speaker at the Texas Trading Convention. Like you'll see all the articles that are written about me. When I was fired, it was a big deal. It was the number 1 story on Bloomberg that day.
And they fired you
Wow.
because
Yeah.
the podcast, because you're
blog.
Because the podcast was rude, misogynistic, anti-Semitic, racist, anti-fat, bald white guy. It was like joking, right? There was nothing targeted, but this is everything that gets said, particularly
Yeah.
back in 2008.
Oh, yeah.
And I was inappropriate, but I was never mean.
Yeah.
It was just kind of be funny, But it is, it's one of those things. So I stopped blogging. I had a pretty good career. I get a layoff. The layoff is fine with me. And I get offers from 2 other places that were comps to what I was doing. Again, managing director, block trader. I get comp offers. And then Kevin somehow finds out that I'm laid off. So he asked me to come in and do a podcast. He said, can you do me a favor? Just come in. We'll chat, and we'll do a radio show and a podcast. I sat down. I did an hour radio with him and Trent and Riggs. And then I did a podcast with him and Fights. So that was it. KFC Radio and the Barstool radio show, the 4 o'clock one. And I loved it. I really did. I loved it. So he said, Dave still remembers you as being, a writer that he loved and whatnot. I went in, I spoke to Dave, and Dave pretended like he didn't remember ever meeting me, which is kind of cool. Whatever, it's a flex. And he'd offer me a job on the spot. And it wasn't for much money. It was for more money than most bloggers I think would be hired for off the street now. It wasn't for much money compared to what I was making. So I went back to my wife, and we were in no rush to make a decision. I was going to take a year off just for the fuck of it. And that's a flex too. I was going to take a year off just to kind of recharge the batteries. Because like I said, it was a very high pressure job when there was pressure. Sometimes there was nothing, but when there was pressure, it was high pressure. And so Annie had said to me, I'm giving her way too much credit. She said, well, if we hit the lottery tomorrow, would you take job A, my comp job? And I said, no. Or job B. I was like, they wouldn't want me there if I won a lottery. You wouldn't want me working for you if I won a lottery. I'd be the cockiest asshole ever. She's like, how about Barstool? I was like, I would definitely try to give that a whirl. So she's like, why don't you do it for a year instead of taking the year off? And so I did. And then within a year, I became the co-host of Barstool Breakfast, the morning radio show on Sirius, which kind of cemented me a little bit as no way near being a Barstool personality. I'm tiny compared to the other guys, but it gave me some notoriety. Then with the blogs, and then with picking up a couple of other things that I did, including like Barstool Gold, I was all these things that are defunct, that David asked me if I wanted to stay on. He signed me to a 3-year deal, which just rolled off. So I renegotiated my deal with, I don't have an agent or anything. It was always just me and Erica talking, which is lovely, by the way, 100% lovely.
Very lovely.
And so I just signed another 3-year deal, 2 years with a third option. And what I do here now is I still blog, and I host Twisted History, which is a history podcast. I co-host Podfathers, which is a parenting podcast. I cover boxing. I'm the only guy who covers boxing here. We have guys who go and do boxing coverage, but I'm the boxing guy. And me and Spider are the NASCAR guys.
Okay.
And I do like all that other stuff, branded content. You see me pop up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a utility man, particularly when everybody else is busy with, football season. These guys, football season rules, right? And that's when they make their hay. They're fantastic. Nobody's better, I think. But sometimes when you get into these like horse latitudes of summer and whatnot, that's when I fucking shine.
There we go.
Yeah, so I'll be playing golf with Canelo, then I'll show up in fucking Sonoma, and then I'm off to Nashville next week, and I'll do all this kind of stuff, and which is around the time I renegotiated the contract. So I am 50 years old. I have 3 kids. I'm happily married for 23 years. I work at Barstool as opposed to fucking Wall Street for 25 years, and I am wildly happy. I'll stay here as long as they have me. Is that cool?
That's cool.
Yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, that's very
I've
cool.
had chills a couple times throughout that. Okay, so, dang, what was my question? Well, what's yours? Oh, what about investments? But finance, Barstool
So
finance.
finance is the newest lateral that we're working on. When I first started working here, it was almost stupid for me not to do something Wall Street wise. So I started doing something called the finish line. Every day I would just tell somebody around 2 o'clock. I'd blog something around 2 o'clock on what went on in the market. And I'd throw in nothing as far as, forward-looking statements, but I'd give little ideas of what I had seen before when I was attached to that, or just make fun of stuff, because there's always stuff to make fun of in the market. We were owned by Chernin. This was before the Penn deal. And I was reached out to somebody in the Chernin deal, and they said, by the way, you had mentioned the stock that we're actually actively trying to buy. You can't do that. Oh. So there became compliance issues. Oh. So I just let it die, because I still had my trading licenses at the time, and I didn't know whether the fuck this was going to work out. So I ran away from it. And I didn't touch Wall Street shit forever until the pandemic. And once the pandemic hit, they canceled all sports, which means they canceled all sports betting. So Pick Central in a day turned into Stock Central with me and Dave. Me and Dave hosted a Sirius radio show for an hour a day, and Dave I taught Dave how to day trade, Davey Day Trader thing.
Yeah.
So the Davey Day Trader thing came from from Stock Central.
I didn't
And
know
Stock
that.
Central became more of a burden on him because he just wanted to day trade. So he cut out Stock Central as soon as sports was coming back, because Pick Central was that established thing with Big Cat and Brandon, right? Maybe just Brandon. Yeah, Brandon Walker is that's his thing. no harm, no foul for me. And then the Davey Day Trader thing was just weird. You know what I mean? Like he's just throwing stuff around. He's buying hammers, and he was on fucking CNBC. So I was like, cool. I actually wrote the legal disclaimer for it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, like I cut and pasted it from other shit until
funny.
we had legal write us a real one because I was still afraid.
Yeah.
So I ran away from that once Dave canceled it. Like, fuck. I thought Dave was going to get in some real trouble between you and I and whoever was on this. And he didn't.
No.
So now you fast forward even further, and they started to get in love with the idea of newsletters. So we have What You Missed, right? The
Things You Missed,
Things You Missed at the end of the day. I just met the young lady who does it yesterday. She seems charming, which is more of a pop culture and general newsletter. You could subscribe to it.
Yeah, just up-to-date stuff. I love to read it.
Yeah,
It
it's
catches
easy.
me up.
Easy reading. Yeah. So if you're in a hole all day, and you just don't know what the hell happened, it's pretty good. Then the same thing. The water coolest is the finance newsletter that they bought with this guy Tyler Morin. And so Tyler does it once a day, comes out around 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a recap of what went on the day before, what might happen today.
I love
No
it.
financial advice. Never buy this, buy that. It's all, it's all out there.
It's funny and it's right on.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, and I like Tyler. So Tyler was introduced to the company by me because during the pandemic, I also did something called Mind Your Business, where I tried to give small businesses a shot to say how they were pivoting. So it was just a weekly thing. And then Mind Your Business turned into the fucking Barstool Fund. Everything starts with me.
Oh,
Everything fucking starts with me.
That's what turned into the
100% that's a lie. But what happened is that Dave started doing the same exact thing that I did, but started raising money for it. So Mind Your Business, as the pandemic started to lift, I stopped doing it. That's when Dave started doing the Barstool Fund in earnest. And some people from Mind Your Business actually were benefits of the Barstool Fund.
That's awesome.
And one of the guys from Mind Your Business was the water coolest. Yeah.
Uh-uh.
So now he's here.
One of the guys. So Tyler was
came
one
on
of
from
the,
Mind Your Business. Yeah.
not one of the recipients of it. What was
No,
helping
he was,
you do it?
Yes.
Because you knew him.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't know him, but he reached out to me and said that this is what he was doing during the pandemic. He had pivoted to doing this newsletter.
Okay.
So I interviewed people who had pivoted.
Oh,
how they
I
did.
see.
However you
Okay.
pivoted your business during the thing. That was my.
That's really
that was my
interesting.
interest. Yeah. So fast forward, Tyler gets hired, and he wants to do more than just the newsletter, and so he had asked me to do stuff. So we just started last week this thing called the Family Office. We threw very little money. I threw $2,500. He threw $2,501. That way I can blame him as a majority partner. $5,000. The market has been doing this, as you ladies know. So we're going to just invest $5,000 in all these different places because we know there's a lot of people out there who have between 10 and 20 grand that their grandparent lent or something, bullshit. So maybe we can give you an idea of how to get smart and do something and buy a fucking NFT, something like that.
That's who it's for?
That's what it's for.
It's for the person that doesn't know what to do with it?
I think it's one of those things that people who are casuals, right? People use the word casuals a lot. Yeah, so if a casual comes in, and if you really get hard from watching Dave spend $90,000 in Boeing because he happened to take a flight the other day, do that. But if you want to see guys who are trying to put together, and we're asking people who follow us, what do you think if we're getting into energy? We had them choose, when does this drop?
In somewhere in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, so I had them choose for the first trade that we had done. We decided to jump in with energy. So we said, you guys choose which one and tell us why. And so, there was somebody made a compelling case for ExxonMobil, bought $1,000 worth of ExxonMobil 6 hours before Joe Biden got on TV and shit on all the oil stocks. We bought it and the stock went down 5%. So that's the type of stuff that we're going to do.
Okay.
So that's going to be a family office. Shit, I do a lot.
You do a
I
lot.
do a lot. Yeah.
You're busy.
My next question was going to be the NASCAR, the boxing,
Right.
the finance. What's the passion? What's your biggest baby?
My dad and mom are both from Ireland. My dad's off the boat. So my mom's from Dublin. She came over with her family. My dad came over by himself when he was 19. My dad dropped out of school when he was 15 when his dad died. My dad never learned to write script. Didn't wear underwear until he came to this country. I taught my dad how to write script when I was in school.
Wow.
He's the smartest guy I know. Never went to school. He's a little guy. Fucking powerful. He's an iron worker, structural steel, up 80 stories, riveting, all that stuff. Yeah, real deal. Real deal fucking macho man of the construction industry. But when he came from Ireland, he didn't know anything about American sports, but he always loved boxing. And since I grew up in the 70s and 80s, that was the heyday. That was like the Four Kings and stuff. So we used to go to movie theaters together, closed circuit, and that's what I did. I never watched the Mets or the Yankees. I grew up in Brooklyn, born in the Bronx, raised in Brooklyn. So we used to go and watch that. So I had a love of boxing since day one. And when we had the radio show, the people who run talent here would be like, we have somebody coming through. And it wouldn't be like Mike Tyson, but let's say it was somebody like Shannon Briggs. And Pardon My Take or Kevin or something, they'd be like, I don't need him. I'd be like, fucking Shannon Briggs? I'd love to talk to Shannon Briggs. And so I became the de facto, because I started to interview all these guys and give them some spotlight on this platform, which everybody wants to be on Barstool, right? Like,
Right.
look at fucking Glennie with the OnlyFans thing. Like, everybody wants that exposure.
Yes.
Yeah, boxing and OnlyFans girls. And so as a result, it grew into these relationships with guys like Top Rank and especially DAZN. And then the DAZN people started with me, and then it turned into a very lucrative thing. And it was one of the easiest things that I had, because it was almost like a bargaining chip with my renewing my contract. So I went from just interviewing them on the radio and blogging about them, typing about them, to now covering them live. And so I cover all the live stuff. And again, Dave and Dan will be ringside at Canelo Triple G. I will be too. But even the smaller fights, I'm boots on the ground for everything. And I love it. That's my passion.
That's the
That's
one.
your
Okay.
passion.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. If you could have dinner with somebody dead or alive, who would it be and why? And not a family member, somebody.
Yeah, I think I had seen an interview the other day, and it was with. I go over this all the time because people are like, who's your dream guest, right? Like, you get that shit all the time. I tell you, I find one of the most like underrated geniuses, music-wise and comedy-wise, maybe acting-wise. I think Jack Black and I would get along so fucking well.
I bet you would.
I think I would do so well with him.
You would.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I'd love to have brunch with Hitler just to see what the fuck he was talking about.
What
you know
would
what I'm
happen,
saying? Right? Yeah, yeah.
simply.
But so it's either Hitler or Jack Black, which I think is the only time that comes up in the same fucking
Yeah.
thing. Jack
Probably
Black
never has.
fascinates me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All
that's
right.
great. Yeah.
That's it. That's a good answer.
Yeah,
That's a
not too
good
bad, right?
answer.
Large, thank you.
bet.
You're perfect for our audience.
Yes.
They're gonna
Thank
love
you.
this.
They
Okay,
are.
cool.
Yeah.
my pleasure.
Thank you so
Anytime.
much.
Well, that was amazing, like we thought it would be. He's an incredible speaker and incredible life, incredible wife.
Yeah, very incredible wife. We will have Annie, his wife, on.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We're also going to set up you and Dad with them on a dinner date.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I encourage everybody to read the blog that Large wrote, though, about 9/11. It's moving.
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. You can just go to Barstool and I think we'll search Large or search 9/11. And it'll
come
pop
up.
up.
Okay.
Yeah. So go do that. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and leave the podcast a review. My mother and I, we love you. Thank you for listening.
See you next week.
See you next week.